Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today after Thanksgiving with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
It is going fine. Had a good Thanksgiving. Had a friend over of my daughter, and since my daughter's in Seattle and we can't have her here, we had one of her close friends come in for dinner. She's a single lady, and so we had her over.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, we've got kind of an eclectic mix of articles today. Well, let's start out with, and we're going to cover this a little bit later. Um, Bollinger Motors, an EV startup from Oak Park, closes for good. Now, it calls it a startup, but it really was, I guess, in startup phase for like 5 years or so. It wasn't, you know, um,
Yeah, it's been a while. I interviewed him just after they made headlines, coming out with their vehicle. So
um,
this was before they rolled out that type of Land Rover kind of vehicle before um, Rivian was introduced. So
yeah, I guess they just weren't ever able to make up their money. But let's see, their HR director said the last day of business was Friday, November 21st, because they've had some complaints of people not getting paid. Um, so David Michery, who's the CEO of Bollinger Innovations, which is what Mullen turned into,
yeah,
um, he said, will make us whole with regards to remaining monies when that went unpaid when the company missed payroll for the last two pay periods. Working on creating checks and believe they'll be in hand on Monday. It is the end of an era, but one you should all be very proud of. Um, Bollinger was founded in 2015, so they survived over about
oh
11 years,
yeah. I remember
10
interviewing
years.
them very early on.
And they had a chassis cab truck and two SUV prototypes, but they just never quite took action, or never really
Never
took
got any
hold.
traction. Yeah.
So they were acquired by Mullen at some point, and then Mullen changed their name to Bollinger Innovations, and now they're both. It looks like they're. I don't know if they're both closed or not. We're going to have a look at this in a little bit because I have some news. I want to cover stocks, and we'll talk a little bit about Mullen when we get over there. And some of the stuff that's a little disappointing, I find that I've seen in the EV space, since I've been in it. I was telling Bill, I've been at this doing the show with Bill now for a little over 2 years, and I've watched as some of these EV startups and technologies have come along. What was the name of our company that we liked that was in Oklahoma? The one that
Oh,
made
that
the
was Canoe.
Canoe. Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that there was a disappointing one that closed its stores. We've seen some other we've seen some shady stuff that's really happened in our space that's really been annoying and disappointing. You'd like to think that that when people want to criticize the EV industry, those would be the things I'd be criticizing, right? It's not like, oh, batteries suck, EVs suck, they catch on fire. It's like, no, you got a bunch of CEOs of EV companies doing really shady crap that
At
I'm
least
just,
a few of them. Yeah.
or at least in my opinion, okay?
Yeah.
So this is a news show. Some of this is our opinion, some of it is just trying to interpret what the news is doing. But you know, we'll see where that goes. Let's go ahead and let's talk about what's going on in the UK because we mentioned that they were coming up with a couple of pence tax on
Yes.
EV mileage. Now, somehow you got to figure out. I guess people have to turn in their mileage every year, right?
Well, now what happens is that over in the UK, you have to regularly take your vehicle in. I assume about the time you have to pay whatever taxes are due, and it has to be inspected. And at that time of inspection, they will now collect the odometer reading and then do the math and then charge you based on what type of vehicle you have. So if you have a full EV, the rate now starting in 2028 is when this takes effect, from what I understand. The rate will be three pence which is roughly equivalent to 3 cents here, depending on where what the exchange rate and things are per mile. And then you're driving a hybrid vehicle, and I assume that may include PHEVs, but certainly a car like the Prius, they charge you 1.5 cents per mile. And of course, the idea is you're with a hybrid, you're buying less gasoline, and with an electric, you're buying no gasoline. You're not paying any kind of fee that they have, similar to what we have here, the federal gasoline excise tax. Their version of that, because that's how they collect revenue for road maintenance and new construction projects, and the signage that's necessary on roads and things. So that'll take effect. Now that's been an effort. Well, interesting to see how that'll play out. They've been trying that here in Oregon. I think Hawaii has a similar program. There's a couple of states that are looking at this rather than a flat fee, because a flat fee, frankly, doesn't really calculate fairly. If you're like me and you only drive 3,000 or 4,000 miles a year, you're charging me the equivalent of my driving 12,000 miles a year, which I don't do. So there is. We'll see how that plays out. Typically, I think in the UK they estimate they drive a little under 8,000 miles a year if you drive an EV, and so that a group over there did the calculations on this, and you can find an article on EV World, a link to it, where they ran the calculations, because there's headlines now up there. Is it worth it buying an EV now that this tax has been been imposed on us? Yeah, it is.
It's interesting. I'm looking at that math. Yeah.
If you charge away from home and have even then they did the math. Even then, if you have to charge at a public charger, you're still saving money. Yes, it is worth investing in an EV.
So they put it on there as 12,000 miles a year, which is more than the average EV drives currently. But they were saying that if it's purely an EV and you're charging at home, that with the tax, you still save 959 pounds a year, which is roughly, I think, $1,150, something like that, maybe $1,200. But your EV is 438 pounds more expensive if you exclusively use public chargers. So this was kind of a problem. But it's a well-known thing that in the UK, EV charging in public is really expensive.
It's expensive, yes, it is.
Yeah, but there's a couple things for this. For one, the people that have invested into public charging are expecting to get a profit right away. And in the US, you have a lot of networks that have set up knowing that it's going to take them a few years. And we're just now, some of the EV charging networks in the United States are just finally starting to make a profit. I've talked to people who own like just a couple of EV chargers, and they do all right. But the ones that have done the larger charging infrastructures like ChargePoint and other folks like that, they've had a real challenge. And only just in the past year have they started being able to at least break even on their chargers, because usage has gone up, and I guess they've just hit just enough people are finally out there.
It's like planting a Christmas tree farm, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to take seedlings and make money on the seedlings the first 5, 6, 7 years. It's going to take you a decade to get, or even fruit trees if you're planting an orchard. Right. Some investments just take time.
Well, the whole liquor business is that way, except for vodka. But it is interesting to see how that has certainly played out. Let's see. All right. In Europe, ICE cars are now officially a minority in EU auto sales.
Yeah.
Internal combustion engine cars now only make up less than 40%.
Yeah, it's like 36%. Yeah.
Let me see. Hybrids were 34.6%. Battery electric vehicles were 16.4%, and plug-in hybrids were 9.1%. it's a total of just right at 60% of all car registrations in the European Union are either hybrid
of
or
one type or
full.
another. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, except for the hybrids. I forget now. Were the hybrids considered plug-ins?
So they split it up. So they had plug-ins at 9% and just plain hybrid with no plug-in at 34.6.
Okay, so
So that was really the bulk.
electrified vehicles, so not electric.
Yeah. So you have about 25% are basically running mostly battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a pretty big hybrid models are the most common powertrain in the EU now. You know, the funny thing, I remember, I thought it seemed really cool that hybrid vehicles had come out in bulk, say from 2008 to 2012. The problem was almost all the hybrids that came out, like with Ford and companies like that, it only improved your gas mileage by like 1 or 2 miles per gallon. It was such a minute change. Now, if you look, for instance, at Toyotas, I mean, a lot of the Toyotas, I mean, their Toyota Sienna minivan gets 36 city and 36 highway. For a large vehicle, that's really impressive. And
the original Prius would do roughly around between 45 and 50, depending on the time of year and how you were driving it. But still, that's a huge improvement over the 20 to 24 miles you were getting with just a straight comparable gasoline sedan.
Yeah, the Camry gets 44 now. I mean, it's just crazy to see how good some of the hybrid, MPG has gotten to now. And of course, the Prius, it's like 65 or something like that. It just keeps
65. No.
No.
Well, now of course the last
60, 65 something
2009 model. So my first hybrid was the Honda Insight, and I was getting 55 to 60. But that was a little highly streamlined, 4-cylinder hybrid with 2 passengers. So.
Okay. Oh, it looks at based on the trim, we're at 57.
That's good. I'm not.
Yeah. And that's not including the plug-in.
You're putting less, carbon and volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxide and all those things in the atmosphere. Half of that, so that's good. I like my none, but I'm just that way.
Yeah, the Hyundai Ioniq hybrid is supposed to get 60. So, but that's odd. I didn't know there had been an Ioniq hybrid. I only knew there was Ioniq EVs.
Yeah, that's news to me. But yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyways,
gives people an option.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something else. India annual EV sales to date have surpassed 2 million units. Now, what I thought was kind of interesting about this is looking at the mix of vehicles.
Now, is that cars or is that? I'm guessing that's mostly.
It's a little bit of everything.
And scooters and motorcycles.
Yeah. So, leading Indian car makers such as Mahindra and Tata are easing range anxieties with more premium EVs. India's number one car maker is Suzuki. Will launch a
Suzuki Maruti. I think.
Yeah, or Maruti's Suzuki. Its first EV is going to be the e-Vitara. I remember Suzuki had the Grand Vitara here in the United States, but they probably still do. I don't know. Yeah. Move that could draw a large pool of value-conscious people to its vehicle. Okay, two-wheelers. Now, it's not saying if these can include electric bikes. I'm assuming it's electric motorcycles, or some kind of step up from a bicycle, right?
Yeah, they have motorcycles. They've got, I don't know. I doubt that includes electric bicycles. I wouldn't count that, but certainly scooters and motorcycles, definitely.
So two-wheelers were 1.2 million units.
Mm-hmm.
Three-wheelers 690,000 units.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we had
That's the version
690,000
of cab,
three-wheelers?
actually.
Yeah. And then regular cars, let me see, are 156,455 units, which is up 57% from the year before.
Yeah. Well, they need it. There was a headline this week that the air in Delhi is so bad that it's almost impossible to live there. The air pollution is so bad, and that's basically coming from their diesel trucks and diesel diesel buses.
Yeah, it's staggering, I guess, to think about how bad that has to be, compared to what we see.
One of the worst cities in the world.
It's funny in TV and movies. Whenever there's a third world country, they always show pictures of it with the sky being yellow. So you just assume there's all kinds of pollution.
Yeah, well, there is.
Yeah. You have this article on EV World that it's funny because it has a picture of the car in China, and it's talking about the BYD Seagull, and It's like, oh, why is the sky blue? That's China.
Oh, yes.
It still does look hazy. It still looks hazy, but
well, now I don't know particularly where shoes. I had to take this photograph because it doesn't say where it is, so I had to put it in Google search, and Google search compared the image and said, well, it's in Suzhou or something like that, which is a large, obviously, city. This is, I guess, the photograph is their industrial park area. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, you'll get clear days occasionally, and they're making significant progress. But there's also probably a little photoshopping and other things going on.
Yeah, you never know. Well, at least they didn't put a rainbow in the background like Toyota does with the Prius ads.
Yeah.
Well, on Prius
ads, all you got to do is watch the guys on the China show that take on what they refer to it as not propaganda but as slopaganda. How the CCP is trying to make the country look better than the United States, essentially, and they
with Photoshop,
with Photoshop type software and things. Hey, the funniest one was they have this software that'll take, and you can have it on your phone, and you can do a video of yourself, and it changes your face to where I'm an old guy, it'll make me a young, handsome guy. If you're an older, not particularly attractive woman, it'll make you a movie star.
So they call those filters, Bill, and they've been around on like Snapchat and stuff like that for years. Right. Okay, yeah. Yep. There's been complaints about that over the years, Bill. Then you'd be catfishing. That would be the expression. You'd be catfishing by sending out fake pictures. Yeah. But I remember a few years ago when I can't remember, it's the Chinese J-20 jet or something, but they released a video of the J-20 operating, and they were showing it like in combat scenes, but they had taken clips from Top Gun.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and used it in their propaganda video about one of their jets. It's like, oh, that's real good there,
Yeah.
Taking scenes from an American movie and pasting it in about your vehicle. But anyways, Chinese EVs that sell for $10,000 domestically, like the BYD Seagull, won't reach the U.S. due to tariffs, safety standards, shipping, and compliance costs. That vehicle would probably be, what do you think, 25, 30,000 in the United States?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, if they conformed easily. Well, yeah. At least, they're 10 over there. I would probably factor in probably a 3 at least.
So you think 30?
I'd say probably somewhere between 25 and 30 if it ever showed up here.
Well, we know it would at least be double just for the tariffs. So
well, yeah, and that's not even including the tariff because it has to go through a whole bunch of, safety
safety.
improvements and things that apparently Chinese car makers do not have to comply with.
Well, they've got too many people already, right? No,
Well,
I'm just
it
kidding.
depends on who
Just
you
kidding.
talk to. Some people are arguing that the population isn't what they say it is, but
I'm going to take.
I'm not going to go there because I don't have a dog in that particular fight.
I'm going to take Bill Gates's perspective on this. And just
Okay.
say they don't need the safety. They got too many people already. No, I'm just kidding, folks. I don't feel that way, but it's just that's kind of the way Bill Gates seems to operate, though, when he's trying to do good in the world, right?
Well, I'm glad I live here and not there.
Yes. All right. Let's get into our top news stories. So Michael Burry, who is famous from The Big Short, or is the investor from The Big Short, says that Tesla is ridiculously overvalued and is open to short position. Okay, so he's famous enough that by doing this, he can probably get some manipulation in the Tesla stock, or at least he's hoping to. And I find that a little disingenuous, but
a little, maybe slightly unethical. If
yeah.
you've got that kind of, I mean, I don't disagree with him in thinking that the company, there's a hell of a lot of hype going on inside that Musk is good at boosting up. They made some great products and innovations, and we wouldn't be where we are in the EV world if it weren't for what Tesla has done. So I give them, that. But wow, some of the promises he's made. I'm still waiting for that Generation 2 car, sports car, Roadster. I'm still waiting for that truck. I'm still waiting for full autonomous, safe driving that'll. I mean, they're making progress slowly in these areas, but not on the time schedule he is talking. He's talking about he's going to, by 2029, I think he's saying he's going to put an Artemis robot on Mars. And that by sometime in the 2030s, we're going to have a colony up there. Well,
I don't know. Yeah. It seems hard to fathom because the thing is, at the moment in my mind, it's a death sentence going to Mars.
Oh, well, sure.
No way you're coming back.
It's only a one-way trip.
Yeah, so that doesn't seem terribly fulfilling to humans to me. Until we get really space travel figured out a little more. And make it more like, when it gets to be more like a plane ride, then
or a sailing ship voyage from the old world to the new world, which typically took 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
In a sailing, a square rigger or whatever, pilgrim style travel. Of course, it all depends on the weather and all those vagaries. So yeah, but if you took that instead of what is it, 6-8 months now to go one way?
Yeah.
And communication takes you what, 20 minutes? Just traveling at the speed of light, it still takes you 20 minutes to communicate back and forth round trip.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know. It still seems a little far-fetched.
I've studied lots of the NASA photographs that were returned from the various Mars rovers and things, and it's interesting. But boy, after a while, I think you get really tired having to constantly be wearing a spacesuit and looking at. The only thing interesting that changes happens to be the occasional passing dust devil.
Mm-hmm.
No plants, no seasons. If you're on the pole, you get to see this moving back and forth of the carbon dioxide, ice sheet.
Yeah, well, who knows? The only way they're going to have a colony there, in my opinion, is if it's underground.
Yeah. Well, isn't that? I think that's what Total Recall. Didn't they have most of that around? And there was a couple domed areas so people could see some sky, but I think most of that town was underground.
Probably. All right. Anyways, Burry says Tesla's ridiculously overvalued at its 1.43 trillion market cap. Tesla dilutes shareholders by 3.6% annually through stock-based compensation, a practice Burry criticizes across the tech industry. The thing is, though, people know that's coming. So it's not like that's not sort of baked into the price already. Despite the critique, Tesla shares are up 6.5% in 2025, although it's lagging the S&P 500. It hit a record high of 488 in December of 24.
Humans are ever hopeful.
And it's down 1.35% today on that news.
You should see my crypto.
Oh, man.
But I'm ever hopeful. Someday I'll break even.
Yeah, well, you just, never really know, do you?
Mark Cuban was advising, hey, folks, young people, go ahead and buy Bitcoin, but consider it money that you've thrown away. It'll come back someday, but just consider it money.
Yeah, look at that Tesla 424.
Away, or in a bank you can't. You don't want to gain access to a safe deposit box or whatever. Maybe what's in that safe deposit box will have value greater than what it was when you put it in the safe deposit box.
All right, so
don't expect to go to the moon. Oh, you seen Melania's crypto?
Mm-mm.
Her coin, meme coin, 99% drop in value.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I don't know why people really deal in the meme coins. I mean, it's...
At least
I don't know.
Tesla, you can drive it. What do you do with a freaking meme coin except hope that, it'll, quote, go to the moon?
Yeah, no. There's 20,000+ different meme coins.
Oh, yeah.
I understand stable coins. When you've got a coin that's backed by some assets, I've seen ones attempted with in-ground assets. To a degree, I feel those have some real value, but they don't really catch hold. But obviously, you've got things like Tether and
have you read the book? What is it? Money Goes Up or something like that, or Dollar Goes Up. Read that book, and then you'll get a new appreciation for what Tether is and what it isn't, and who uses it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't. Yeah. Unless you want to get visited by the SEC or whoever's responsible.
I see, lots of discussion in trade where stable coins have a lot of value in that trying to make a payment from other countries to another country's entity can take days. You can pay enormous fees and everything with doing in-bank transfers. Whereas sending it as a crypto, it's instant, and you have minor fees compared.
Oh yeah, they're trivial. You can transfer huge amounts of money, and the actual cost is basically trivial. So, but the Tether is what has financed the whole pig butchering movement. The scams, online scams, and things like that. It facilitates a transfer of dollar among terrorist groups and money. So, and then there's no real way to check whether or not those tethers are actually backed by something real. They say they are, but there's no real way, and there's no authority who can actually go in there and check whether there actually is the gold bullion or whether there are the bonds or whatever it is that they're using. They say they're backing that thing with.
I'm pretty sure it's audited.
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. But that being said, I mean, so you have something though, like a stable coin like USDT that's backed by some kind of real asset, usually cash or some type of short-term convertible, treasuries, just different things that are considered to be the same, equivalent to cash because they're short-term and can be easily, liquefied if need be. And I've seen other things where people do asset-based products in real estate, tokenizing real estate, which doesn't matter much in the United States. I've talked about this with the idea of aircraft hangars.
Right.
But in the United States, it doesn't necessarily make super sense because there's already existing structures in place to make that work. But if we were trying to do a real estate project in Colombia or Panama, it makes a lot more sense because you can't get the same type of bank financing.
Right.
And so the idea of going out and raising money in the tokenizing space makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah.
And so they call it democratizing, money or different things, but it certainly does that in lesser productive countries.
Yeah. I just happened to recall we had a local Democratic Party in our county meeting here last month, because we're now in December, and one of the candidates who's announcing his run for that particular congressional seat has a really interesting background. He worked for USA or USAID,
Okay.
VA group, right? Mm-hmm. But what he did is he was one of the individuals who tracked down corrupt money transfer things, right? Mm-hmm. That was his job, was to find out, who was doing the transactions, what channels they were using to move funds and things. That was his job. And so we've got a local candidate for the Democratic nomination for the first congressional seat here in Nebraska, who has that as a professional background. He's done that for 7 years.
Was he based here doing that?
What's that?
Was he based here in Omaha?
Oh, no, he was based in D.C.
Okay.
And then when they killed U.S. aid, he said, well, I'm moving back to Omaha. I'm moving back to Nebraska, which is where he's from originally. And, he says it took a few months to figure out what it is I want to do. And he figured, well, I think I'll try to run for Congress.
Oh, good for him. That'd be interesting.
Well, he certainly has the D.C. experience, and obviously he's spent a lot of his time overseas, and so he's got a lot of that perspective, which I think is important to have. Will he be a good? I want to see a debate between him and Eric, who I, of course, have interviewed on EV World. So it'd be real interesting to see how those two stand up.
So that district isn't the one the Democrats usually win.
No, but the way things are going, I would suspect that this could very well be a toss-up, because there's just a mood in the country. Joe, well, we'll see. Let's see what happens in Tennessee today, because they're having a special election in Tennessee.
Well, it's difficult sometimes to look at something, especially with elections here in Nebraska, because, to be honest, I don't see like a huge gulf in opinion between Democrats and Republicans in this state like you do in a lot of other states. I think you probably get a lot more things in agreement and common in this state than you would on a more national scale. And so I think it's harder to tell them apart, honestly. Anyways, but we'll stay off.
Backing out of local politics, back to EVs.
Yeah, but anyways, so on the flip side, Tesla sales in China show rare growth, up 9.9% in November. Now, Tesla's been struggling kind of worldwide, and I don't think it's, people think it's Musk. It could be, that's probably some of it. But the other thing is there's so many choices now. When I started doing this show with you a couple of years ago, there weren't that many choices. Now there's like it seems like hundreds of choices other than Tesla. It's not really that many, but every car maker has options now.
What General Motors alone had 7 or 9 EV models now you can pick from.
Yeah, I mean, even the fact that Cadillac has 2,
2 or 3.
Yeah, when you look at GM and Chevy, I mean, Chevy probably has 5. Hummer has a couple. They got the truck and the SUV. I mean, you got so many choices in the GM space, that's for sure. Ford doesn't, and we're going to get to Ford in a minute. So Tesla's on track to deliver 1.66 million EVs globally in 25, well below previous performance. That strikes me because weren't they like at almost 3 million? I mean, they used to do 1 million just in China. So that seems like a big drop. Tesla's U.S. market share has fallen from 80% in 2019. So in 6 years, it's fallen to 45, from 80% to 45%, as competitors gain ground and high prices hurt competitiveness. Now, at the end of the tax credit, Ford is down 61% on EV sales.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they really
they've slowed or ordered a ceasing production of the Lightning.
They're talking about it. The F-150 Lightning sales dropped 72.4% to only 1,000 units in November, down from 3,600 the year before.
They could do that in a day once upon a time.
Yeah. Ford is considering discontinuing the F-150 Lightning after $13 billion in EV losses since 23, planning to pivot to smaller, more affordable electric pickups. Now, we've said this before. If they made that Maverick electric, that would be.
Well, in fact, there was one just the other day here. I think on Thanksgiving there was really pretty little orange Maverick just parked a few hundred feet from me. So that's a nice looking truck. I'm taking an increasing interest in beekeeping and all that thing. And I thought, well, if I want to do that, I'd have to have a truck. I certainly can't carry beehives around in the back of my Bolt. So I'm not going to go buy a pickup. I own pickups. So I don't want to ever buy another gallon of gasoline in my life. Don't want to do it.
In the movie Tommy Boy, there's a scene where they get pulled over in their car they were driving erratically for some reason. I can't remember why. And they get pulled over and they go running out of the car screaming, "Bees! Your guns cannot stop them," or something like that. Yeah. And the police officers, it's like, "Oh, I'm allergic to bees." They get back in the police car and drive off. Like their car is full of bees. Yeah, I can just, I can just see you driving down the road with a car full of bees swarming around inside it, Bill. Anyways,
so at some point you would think at some point they're obviously going to don't they have a hybrid model?
Well, that's what it is. The Maverick is hybrid. Well, they're not all hybrid, but I think they mostly.
But it's an option you can get, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the hybrid's very popular because it gets like high 30 mile per gallon.
Oh yeah, why not?
MPG, yeah, and it's not terrible. It's got a 5-foot bed. It's got a comfortable, 4 or 5 people sitting around. I don't know that 3 people would sit comfortably in the back seat, but I think it's for the size, it's decent. Norway hits nearly a 100% EV penetration.
Incredible.
Now, 19,400 new electric cars in November, with a few hundred non-electric, approach almost at 100%. Tesla has sold more cars in Norway in 2025 than any other automaker ever has in a full year, setting an annual sales record. Norway's success demonstrates what's possible with strong policy support and charging infrastructure. Plus, we think of Norway being, right now we're dealing with winter weather, right? And I was telling people that at my tennis club that there weren't many badminton players. The badminton players are all Indian. We have a large Indian community that plays badminton. Right. And my thing was, I didn't see all their Teslas in the parking lot. The Teslas, are really good for driving in the snow. They probably have, they still didn't go play badminton. But I thought that was, kind of funny. I was telling someone just like, it's a safer way around. Anyways, I thought that was kind of comical.
I,
All
I
right.
just I just noticed Rivian is really up today. Wow,
Yeah.
over $17.
Yeah, it's doing well. It's been interesting to see what the stock market is doing lately. You look at like AMD being down a little bit, Microsoft up a little bit. What we got with NewScale today? Lately, the nuclear industry, it's at 18, basically at $19. It's up 5% today, but it took a big hit. Nano up 7%. These stocks were all red for a few days. The nuclear stocks are really, like I've said before, they're really volatile, and they go through these swings. And it's not normal for a stock to be going 5 to 10% in a day, but we've seen nuclear stocks sometimes go up 20% in one day, and then come back down
Uh-huh.
slowly.
Profit taking.
Yeah. Um, but what generally happens with the nuclear stocks, it's not that anything really changed with the company. It's that the stocks go up to a certain point. One of the early investors sells a big set of their shares because they've taken a huge profit.
Right.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and when that happens, then the stock plummets because people feel like, oh, that investor has lost confidence in the company. And it's like,
Right.
well, it doesn't mean they lost confidence in the company, but obviously the price was really
Well,
attractive to take a
take the
sell.
profit. Then when the price goes down, you buy back in,
Right.
and
Yeah.
hopefully keep riding the wave. So
And who knows, they may have done that. Um, BYD had record exports, but domestics declined. BYD sold 480,000 NEVs. BYD sells both plug-in hybrids and EVs. So apparently, those combined, they call them NEVs, new electric. Is
yeah,
it
the
new?
NEV is new electric vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Sales were
no. It means new energy vehicle.
new energy vehicle. There we go.
Energy vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it was their highest monthly figure for 2025 was 480,000 units, but sales were down 5.25% year over year, marking the third consecutive monthly decline. Exports are up 326% year over year, but their Chinese performance has declined as competition has intensified. BYD's commercial sales are up 213% in 2025, showing a lot of strength in the fleet and commercial segment. All right. Um, Bill Gates' TerraPower gets Nuclear Regulatory Commission safety
Yeah.
approval for its first nuclear plant. Um, I think this is going up in Wyoming. I'm not 100%. TerraPower passed the NRC's final safety evaluation for a construction permit, a major milestone for next-gen nuclear. This represents progress towards small modular reactors that could provide clean baseload power for EVs and grid electrification. Advanced nuclear is gaining momentum as tech companies seek reliable, clean energy for AI data centers and industrial applications. But what's interesting, my next article is also on nuclear. This one's kind of funny because it seemed like it was kind of a hit piece. 3 Mile Island nuclear revival. Microsoft's 20-year power purchase agreement at 3 Mile Island is for the undamaged reactor at 3 Mile Island is set to reopen 46 years after America's worst nuclear accident, with Microsoft signing a 20-year PPA for 835 megawatts of output. Now, what's funny about this, okay, it pits those who fled the 1979 accident against job seekers, highlighting the tension between nuclear's promise and its controversial history. Now, they are reopening a second-gen reactor, but it's being modernized. But the one they're reopening has only been shut down for what, 6 or 8 years? It's not like it was shut down 40 something years ago. And I think that's a lot of the perception is all of 3 Mile Island was shut down 46 years ago. And it's like, no, just the damaged reactor or whatever went wrong was shut down back then. But anyways, that I don't know that that's really now, as opposed to the previous story, which was about TerraPower, which is doing newer, it's probably generation 3 plus, I believe. It could be Gen 4. I'm not 100%, but I believe it's generation 3 plus reactor. That's a very big difference between it and the 3 Mile Island second generation reactor.
And if our listeners happen to know, please feel free to enlighten us. Share it in the comments. So we'd like to hear what you have to think of it.
I often create an image with AI of what fourth generation reactors will look like, and almost invariably the AI throws a cooling tower into the picture. But the fourth generation reactors don't use cooling towers. And
how are you going to tell it's a reactor if you don't have a big, huge, humongous?
I know people recognize that as what a reactor is, right? And but
the thing is, though, they don't necessarily have to be nuclear reactor. They can be a thermal plant that needs to do a lot of controlling of the heat of the plant. So you run water through it, and that turns to steam, and that's how you keep it cool.
Yeah. Well, global grid investment to top 470 billion in 2025. A record driven by electrification, renewables integration, AI data center loads. So this is a record. In Texas alone, planned capital expenditure on the ERCOT grid for 2025 to 2029 is 70% higher than the previous 4-year segment due to soaring power demand. There's all kinds of stuff going on in Texas for AI development. And I mean, I've heard of like a data center that needs 7 gigawatts. I mean, it is some of the data requirements, or I'm sorry, the energy requirements are just obscene.
And people wonder why their power bills are going up.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, they're having to fuel those with LNG because there's not any other quick source of energy that they can get to that. They're still building all the solar and things like that they can. I mean, Texas is now the leader in solar, but they're
I keep seeing headlines about how they're doing something legislatively in Texas that will put some major roadblocks up for renewables. I haven't followed it closely. I've just seen the headlines.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about EV stocks. So we've been doing this show now I've been doing it with Bill for
2 years and 4 months.
Yeah, 2 years and 4 months now. And so I want to talk a little bit about stocks. So obviously Tesla's the main stock people think of when they think of an EV stock. In July of 23, Tesla was at $267. They're currently at $424, which is a gain of about 59%. Now, they've done a lot, obviously, in those couple of years, but they've had their high was 488, so they're certainly not at their high. But it's been fascinating kind of to see where their journey's gone, and we've talked about them quite a bit today. NIO, which is a Chinese EV maker, which now has 3,000 battery swap locations for cars in China, which we don't have any of that kind of technology in the United States, is up about 43%. Well, they're up 43% this year, not since 2 years ago. Yeah. But NIO struggled to 24, but they're showing resilience with SUV lineup getting traction in China. And it's funny because a lot of the Chinese car market is so large that to a certain degree, they don't necessarily need the rest of the world really to be successful, right? Whereas in the United States, our big three make a lot of their money in other countries. And Tesla does most of their sales overseas. Xpeng, currently at $20, a Chinese innovator, Chinese EV maker showing strong innovation in autonomous driving. Volatile but maintaining presence in competitive Chinese market.
Yeah, they are a really strong competitor to Tesla. They have not only the automotive side, they have the aviation side, and they also have the human like robotics. In fact, that particular robot probably is a lot more capable than what Tesla's robot is at this point.
Okay. And then Li Auto. Li Auto is at about $18. It's another Chinese EV maker that they focus on extended range electric vehicles, which means they have some type of gas support, whether it be a generator or a gas engine. They're a little more stable than their other peers in China. And then we go to the stocks that have kind of been on the struggle bus. So Rivian was in the $20 to $25 range 2.5 years ago, and it's at $17 now.
17.28.
There we go. It's down about 15% or so. Despite innovative, vehicles, production challenges, and cash burn have weighed on the stock. Now, the thing is, we know that they've got these new models coming to market, things like that. And
we got a new plant being built in Georgia.
Yeah, they're going to stick around. I expect them to go up considerably.
I saw one projection that said hold on to it because it's going to go to 30, which of course would make it $5 more than the original high.
Yeah, I think it'll do well, long term. Lucid's another one I think will do well long term. I'm not sure where we're at on the tracker today, but it was.
Yeah, they were up today. I just caught a glimpse of it going by, but I don't remember what the number was. It was $12, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. 12.92.
12.92. But that's up from the $8 to $10 range a couple of years ago. And hello, Nicholas. But Lucid's had mixed performance, but they're certainly improving. They've got the new product out. They've got the Gravity's just finally coming to market. And all this time it's taken for Lucid to really kind of figure out what it's doing. And now it's winning these awards for being the top luxury EV.
Yeah, and one of the most, if not the most efficient in the world. And
yeah, they've got some cool things going on.
They're making progress.
Now let's talk about Nikola. One of my
God,
this is what I promised. Yeah, so we're going to talk about mainly where it seems like there's some kind of almost fraud or something going on in the space. Well, the Nikola CEO went to jail, right? So they famously did the demonstration of the truck rolling downhill when it was supposed to be motorized for a video. And Nikola, well, this is kind of funny. In the 2 years and 4 months, it's gone down from $1.20 to $1. So it hasn't really gone down that much, but it was already, it had the history of, basically goofiness affecting the stock. Then my next one's Mullen Automotive. And I liked talking about Mullen when we first came out because they seemed like they were doing some cool things in this space, but they've had a catastrophic decline. They've gone from around $110 to now around the $2 to $3 range. I'm surprised they're even at that. I would have assumed that Mullen would basically be gone at this point. Now they're trading for just a few cents per share. But this is what we were talking about with Bollinger, and they rebranded to Bollinger Innovations, and they're now trading as BINI. Let's see what that is. BINI stock. Yeah, 11 cents. Just terrible. Oh yes, Bill is a very sexy guy. But we
Yeah.
were talking about
Who
Bill's
is
not
she on
catfish.
Firehead? What is that?
Yeah,
Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
yeah. And Bill's not catfishing today. He's been threatening to use filters to make himself look better.
No filters here. This is
Yeah,
really
no filters. Yeah. Um, but anyways, yeah, Mullen has been just a disaster, and we were talking earlier about the layoffs and closing of Bollinger Motors, and the whole thing. And I think David Michery came out personally. He came out okay. Um, and anyways,
we're getting distracted here by the comments. So
oh yeah, well the chat gets weird sometimes. Um,
okay.
yeah. Um, then Greenland Tech. So we had the CEO of Greenland on here, and very likable guy. Um, their stock is, and after they came on, their stock went up like 20%. Okay, and
Okay.
now they're an extremely low price penny stock. They're like 12 cents,
Oh Lord.
and they've really taken some hits. So I wanted to do a little investigating, and I don't know if they're really 12. I think my AI that was doing research for me may have mixed up some of the um, Mullen and some of the Greenland
Mm.
stuff, because let's just be sure here. Let me do a quick search for GTech stock and see where we're at. We're at $1.02 on GTech. Okay, they were roughly $3 they got up to when they came on the show, but they've lost 2/3 of their value, and huge decline. Well, here's the thing: they spun off this company called Centro, Cennntro, and according to shareholder lawsuits, Centro allegedly owes Greenland Tech $38 million that they have no intention of repaying, which is enormous for a company with only a $21 million market cap. A shareholder lawsuit was filed but subsequently dismissed in March 2025, leaving Greenland Tech holding the bag. But there's some problems with this. The lawsuit was dismissed because of jurisdiction. Greenland Tech is based in the British Virgin Islands, and the suit should have been brought in the British Virgin Islands and not
Wow.
in the U.S. Let's see. But they just don't look real good. They got 17 million in cash with 64 million in liabilities, of which short-term debt is 31 million. They don't have enough cash to cover current liabilities. They have about 22 million in AR, which is 48% of their quarterly revenue, which suggests customers
What is
aren't paying
AR?
up on time.
What is
Their accounts receivable is
okay.
48% of quarterly. I guess that means people are paying in about 5 to 6 weeks. I don't know that that's really that terrible, but still.
Yeah, we should
Somehow,
point out that the company we're talking about here, just in case you didn't hear the interview, 12 months or whatever it was ago.
it was more than that. It was more than that. It was probably closer
Yeah.
to the
So
start of last year.
the company does the assembly of electrified and electric industrial construction equipment, things like that.
Front end loaders, bulldozer type vehicles, backhoes, things like that. But they're fully electrified. They're designed for yard use. Now, I don't mean like your home yard, but like if you owned a dump or something like that,
Right.
you would use it at a place, because the battery lasts for about 9 hours in those vehicles, and so you need to have it somewhere where there's access to be to charge up. But it's just
It's electric industrial equipment. Well, industrial mobile equipment, things on wheels like backhoes and things like that are electric.
yeah.
Right?
But they've got some other things that are going well for them. They've got free cash flow about $10 million a year, meaning they're basically profit. They have an operating margin of 12%. net income of $7.7 million a year.
Are they having a problem with short sales, maybe?
Well, they did. If you remember,
Right.
Raymond Wang, who was the CEO of Greenland that was on here, said that when that happened, he went in with a few million of his own cash and bought up and punished the shorts. So that was an unusual thing for someone to do, but he went in and bought up all of the cheap stock and forced them having to all take a loss. That is the people who are short sellers.
Yeah.
But the market's currently pricing GTech like it's going to run out of cash, can't collect receivables, may need to dilute shareholders, lost 38 million in the Centro debacle, too small to matter in the EV manufacturing space. Well, here is the challenge: is Centro CEO is Raymond's dad. Okay, so this is where, to me, it gets, as much as I like Raymond, I'm just not real sure about this.
Yeah.
So Peter Wang, the CEO of Centro, and he's apparently the chairman of GTech. So Raymond is the CEO, his dad is the chairman. Okay, classic case of related party transactions gone bad. Per the shareholder lawsuit, GTech planned to spin off its industrial vehicle and drivetrain businesses. The drivetrain segment represented 90% of GTech's total revenue. It was alleged that this was orchestrated to transfer GTech's most valuable assets to a separate company for Peter Wang's sole benefit. It would be a breach of fiduciary duties, failure to recover debts owed by Centro, orchestrating a spinoff designed to benefit the chairman, Peter Wang, at the expense of minority shareholders, and essentially stripping GTech of its revenue-generating assets while leaving the debt behind. The British Virgin Islands expressly requires a shareholder obtain leave from the BVI High Court to initiate a derivative action on behalf of a BVI company. The case was thrown out on jurisdiction grounds, not because the allegations were false. The underlying accusations were never adjudicated on the merits. So what's this done is, on the market's perception, it's absolutely toxic. But this is kind of what I keep going back to. As much as I love being in the EV space, in the public sector, Lucid seems to be honest. Rivian seems to be honest. Tesla seems to be honest, despite the criticisms people may want to dump on those companies for whatever reasons. We keep having this with Nikola, Greenland, Mullen. We were talking about Canoe.
Yeah, another.
Yeah, I mean, and I really just don't know what to think about that, Bill. I mean, it really kind of makes me sad to see that in this space that I love being involved in. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
And we've really gone over time today.
Way over time.
Yeah. And and we appreciate everybody
My
watching
wife is
today.
getting anxious. She keeps walking in and out doing her housekeeping thing. So
yeah, no show tomorrow.
By the way, I'm here in the kitchen because it's warmer up here than it is down in the office. So
no, I think we're good. And my co-host Mike Herzog's on his way back from Finland, so he won't be back by tomorrow. So we won't have a show tomorrow. Yeah, okay. He was in Helsinki. I don't know if he's Finnish or not. Herzog could be anything, right? I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah. Anyways, all right.
Okay.
Folks, have a great day, and Bill and I will be back on Friday. All right.